Seth Rollins, I'm coming for you, boy. And I'm coming hard.
Thank you.
I don't care. You come in my face, I'm gonna fight you.
Gonna stick you in the eye with a foreign object. Gonna poke you in the eye with a foreign object.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blue Thunder Pod AEW Dynamite Edition. I'm your host, Billy Sullivan. With me, as always, my dad's favorite podcast host, Frankie Ortega. Hey, Frankie.
Hi, guys. Happy to be back.
Very happy to have you back, and I think we're going to be able to start doing these at a more regular clip for you guys now. Obviously, we are not in the same location for the first time. I'm pretty tech savvy, but I'm slow moving with it. So I just figured out how to do podcasts remotely. So now we're going to be able to knock these out because it's a pain in the ass to drive to each other's houses and stuff to get these done. And this is essentially an hour-long phone call for us. So my hope is to start knocking these out weekly again because it's a lot easier to do it this way now. And hope you guys are patient with us because there are going to be some bumps and bruises, glitches along the way as we go. Technical, I'm talking about, not as far as the show itself or our research or anything. I'm talking about I'm still learning all of these apps and how to make stuff not get too compressed, yada yada. It's too boring. I won't go over it too much, but just be patient. After 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have it locked in. I promise. You guys know me. It always takes me a few weeks and then locked in.
And thanks for tuning back into the show. We've been gone for a good month or so.
Good point. I should probably tell people. My family and I took a trip to Universal Studios, which is where I got my handy dandy Homer Simpson hoodie I'm wearing right now. It was a makeup trip because we were supposed to go in August and my appendix ruptured. So my daughter was very, very disappointed. So I was like, when is the next immediate time that you are off school? We are taking you then. So we did Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, I got sick while I was there, and then it turned into kind of walking pneumonia. So I was unable to talk. So Frankie beat my ass about it because that was being lazy. But I'm back, full health now. I may do a little coughing and sniffling, but I feel great. I'm sorry that we didn't upload anything for a little while, but we'll be back on track now, and also with these new tools at our disposal, even more so than before, is my hope. So before we get to this week's AEW Dynamite, I believe it is Frankie's turn for bringing us a match of the week. So, Frankie, what match do you want to talk about through the course of wrestling history today?
So I chose Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe at Genesis 2006.
Goddamn right you did. This was
a
fun watch.
Yeah.
Sorry,
in my opinion, this match is a very important match in the history of TNA. It's an important match in the recent history of the recent history of pro wrestling in general, but it's also a very important match in the history of my fandom. This was the first non-WWE match that I was extremely invested in.
You know what? Something I should have asked you about when you first started on the podcast. I think I asked Dave. Not to cut you off. It's part of what you're talking about now. What is your history with wrestling? I never asked what age you started, and were you a fed head guy like me?
Yeah,
I was a Hulkamaniac.
I was up until this point. Nothing but WWE. Had some good friends in high school who were telling me all about TNA, and I feel like I tried to watch it every now and then, but I don't know, something about like the indie style of what they were doing, like the super athletic stuff. Like it just
Yeah,
wasn't.
not for kids.
It wasn't for me. Yeah.
I had hillbillies around the block that were pissed off at me all the time because they were like, "You're watching that bullshit clown stuff." They're my age. I was like 9, and they're like, "You should be watching Stunning Steve and Sid Vicious and the Steiner Brothers." And I'm like, I like Hulk Hogan and like Coco Beware. So
yeah,
sorry.
that was me. I liked at the time I liked Brock Lesnar. You know, I liked Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle. Like, of course.
Okay, so now you're kind of shitting on me because I'm like, I like the Hulkster and Coco Beware who fucking cannot go at all. And you're like, I like these 3 dudes that are like the greatest work rate dudes that have ever been in this company in their history. But yeah, no, you seem like you're a real big fan too.
But Kurt Angle and Eddie, they were doing some like amazing comedy stuff. I think that's what I liked the most.
Yeah,
you know, at that time. But yeah, of course, it took like a WWE guy, Kurt Angle, to get me out of this WWE bubble. Because once I heard that this was like the first major like jumping ship, right? Like a WWE guy going to TNA.
mean, if it wasn't for the circumstances of him taking 150 Percocets a day, whatever it was, like they were never ever going to let he was unbelievable at the top of his game. He's still like, I don't know how he was able to do what he could do as impacted by the drugs as he was. I mean, I'm only talking about it because he talks about it openly all the time on podcasts and stuff. But like, they had to like let him go because it was such a huge risk. They didn't want another person to die on their watch. So they had to let go of like one of their best, biggest, most talented stars ever, like at the top of his game. Unprecedented, absolutely. I'm sorry.
But then he went to TNA and was still he was still doing such crazy shit in the ring.
He did crazier shit in TNA.
Yeah, he did crazier stuff.
I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, because we're going to talk about this on Dynamite with one of the spots in one of the big matches. I don't think Kurt actually ever completed. You know how he used to do that German suplex tease off of the apron? We do it in like every other match.
Yeah.
Where he would grab a guy, he'd be standing on the apron back to the crowd, and he would tease a German suplex, and then something would always happen. Would never get done.
Right.
Went to TNA, and he did it like on the second show he was on or something.
Yeah.
He actually did it. I was like, holy fucking shit. Been watching this guy for 10 years, and never seen him do that. It was always a tease.
Yeah. He was, like, during his last year in WWE, he was being presented as like a crazy animal, right? Like, but in TNA, he actually, like, did it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm like in the notes I was taking for this match, he had like the 1,000-yard, I'm on 150 Percocets there.
Yeah.
Like while he was coming out to the ring, glassy eyes. I have some experience with some that kind of stuff, and the glassy eye thing he had going, I'm like, how is this man going to work a match? And then he's just incredible. It's just like muscle memory or whatever. I don't know how he's still alive. But like that he could come out as fucked up as like Jeff Hardy was against Sting, but then work like a 5-star match.
Yeah.
I hate this phrase, but it applies to Kurt Angle, just made different. He's a different animal.
Yes. So because of the build up to this match and his debut, like I started to tune into TNA pretty regularly for the first time ever. And essentially this is the way that I branched out as a wrestling fan too, you know, because once I started watching TNA, I started watching ROH.
Sure.
So this is how I really, really became a pro wrestling fan.
I mean, this match that we're about to talk about, like you would never see that, even when in the days when they still did blood and stuff, you would never see that level of brutality and realism, in any era of WWF/E, that this match. So I can imagine you as a young person, like watching this for the first time with a guy that you know, and then like, holy shit, this dude's working like I've never seen before. Totally different style, and he's like amazing at it. But that's cool. I kind of skipped TNA. It was too very late. WCW pilled for me. I like I mean, it wasn't the younger performers' faults or anything. It was every older guy that came into the promotion just made the same mistakes as WCW, and I could never like get the I never felt that vibe in the Impact Zone, which was watching this match, which I don't think I'd ever seen before you're choosing it. In the Impact Zone, it felt like a big match, and I was like, I didn't think a match could feel big in that place.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. It's a cool place, but it feels like a TV studio kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this felt like a big fucking deal. It felt like Bloodsport or Kickboxer, like a Van Damme movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like these two guys were gonna try to kill each other.
I think during this time, TNA was firing on all cylinders. A few years after this is when I feel the same. Like all these older guys came in and just fucked everything up.
Yeah, yeah. I was still hanging on, I think, to WWE at this time, and then I jumped directly from WWE to Ring of Honor, essentially. And then like grabbing up as much indie stuff on the internet as I could. I didn't go to a lot of shows, or whatever, because I didn't have people to go with. I didn't have friends that really wanted to go to indie shows. But it was like a Ring of Honor for a while. And I always had WWE going on in the back burner or whatever. But like, I wish I would have been watching TNA in this era, right? I mean, maybe not, because I would have been then so fucking pissed off and disappointed when like Bubba Ray and Hogan, all those guys come in, and although Sting did some good work, I do gotta say that. But like, and then dude, all that stupid bullshit that killed the last company they were in, and nonsensical, like that's what I saw more of. Like in recent years, I've gone back and watched like that Elix Skipper spot off the top of the cage thing where he runs like 20 feet. I mean, why wasn't I watching that back then? I guess I just didn't know it was really there.
As much shit as TNA gets, people forget that everyone's been on TNA. Everyone, the entire AEW roster right now, they've all been through TNA.
I watched not too long ago. Somebody posted somewhere. Tyler Black working like a 20-minute match on TNA.
Yeah.
Against somebody crazy. Maybe it was a luchador. It might have been like, who was it? Psychosis or something? It was somebody I knew. It was a little older.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Seth Rollins. I think like Dean Ambrose, Moxley, I think he was there too. Like, it's not just AEW. Like, it's everybody in AEW that's like over 30 worked in TNA.
Yeah.
And then like a ton of big stars in WWE now work.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell happened to Monty Brown? I always loved that dude. He was the
Everyone
first guy I ever saw do the pounce. He had that like the pose he did after. I was like, this dude is like just exudes charisma. I love him.
Yep.
And then he like got a cup of coffee in like WWE ECW, like their bullshit rebranding of ECW.
Oh yeah.
Under a different name, and they didn't let him do the pounce or like the animal stuff that he did.
Right.
And he just retired. I was like, oh man, that dude, like, I thought he had a super bright future. I'm sorry. We're getting way off topic. Let's talk about the match.
So some background on this match. This is obviously Kurt Angle's first match as a newly signed TNA talent. And of course, in true Perk Angle fashion, he goes after like the baddest motherfucker on the roster.
Undefeated, right? Still? Like, year and a half, never been defeated at this point, right? Joe was just like the Goldberg motherfucker. Like,
yeah, he's on a 17th month winning streak. At the very top of his game. This is a dream match in any promotion. And TNA does it like a great job treating it as such.
Yeah. I was shocked at how visceral the presentation felt. Because like I knew these two guys were gonna kick ass because it's Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, but like their production, the weight they gave to everything, the announcing, like all of it made it feel like as big as it was.
Did they pull the trigger maybe too fast? Like that's debatable for sure. Because this was Kurt Angle's very, very first match.
I think it would have been a great idea had there not been an impending influx of like 50-year-old WCW, like political minded performers that were about to join the company, because I think they saw Kurt Angle and okay, let's all
Yeah.
But like as a booking decision, if those guys never came, I think it would have been incredible to do it this way. It's like what they did with Vader in New Japan when who did he beat? Beat like Misawa, or maybe it was All Japan. On his first day, he came in and like beat his ass, like squashed their champion. And that was like what Kurt did here. It was a guy that nobody could touch for, almost 2 years. And then he beats him like in a match that he's selling like Joe almost killed him too. But it was incredible booking. Unfortunately, it was a bunch of bad actors later on. I think that makes us look back at that decision as maybe one that wasn't great. But I think it was a great decision. I think it was a great booking decision. I like anybody that books with balls too. We'll talk about that in a little bit too.
Yeah. So the match is only a little over 13 minutes. So I would even say that this should be considered like one of the greatest like short matches of all time.
100%. And it's weird that because you picked this a few weeks ago. We're going to talk about another match that was not. Correct me if I'm wrong when we get there, but I don't think it was like an 18-minute or anything. And it was one of the best matches in this year. So it's kind of cool that we can kind of bookend this show with that.
The pace of these awesome matches is insane.
It just the work rate, yes, but also Kurt Angle looked like he was going to die in this match. Like I would not have believed he could continue going for more than the time he did. Yes. And that's awesome. Like it was an incredible story they told in this match.
Those guys did not waste a single second during this match. Major big fight feel to this, like you said. The crowd was like white hot during the match. After the match,
was great.
They were singing.
And it's like the same people too, right? Because it's the same. It's like Arena Mexico. Yeah. They just run the same place every week. It's amazing that they can get that. I mean, this obviously is a great match, but that crowd was always pretty on top of it, and it's like the same people every week, same 1,100 people or whatever, 1,800 people.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were like very vocal in this match. It definitely added to it too.
Yeah. The pace was just crazy. The way that they were coming after each other, that should tell you like this match is not going the distance. This reminded me like of like two heavyweight boxers who like despise each other, and who are also like low key like concerned about like one another's like abilities, so they're trying to just end the match ASAP.
I would say for me, I have a very, very specific era and weight class that I'm like a huge fan of boxing, but like I would say this felt like a welterweight, early 2000s, top of the card, like Bernard Hopkins and Pretty Boy or Sugar Shane Mosley, and I forget who the Cuban guy was, but there was like a bunch of awesome dudes at the top of the card, and they all thought each other was kind of shit, and then they would try to kill each other every match that they had. If they were heavyweights, they couldn't do that because it'd be big knockouts, but they would like, I'm sure they did way worse damage to each other in those matches. Oh yeah, you know who else was the handsome Mexican dude? What's his name?
From back then?
Yeah.
Oscar?
Yes. Yeah. He was a little lighter, but then he moved into that weight class, and I fought Hopkins and stuff. And but I love that era. But I definitely felt that from this.
Yeah.
I do, before we continue into the match part of it, I did have one thing I wanted to point out because it made me laugh my ass off when I thought of it when I was watching this. Jeremy Borash did the ring announcing. He came out and announced and it was cool how they did it. Like, got both guys in the ring, and and they're both in the ring before the announcer says each guy, and that always makes it feel bigger. But Jeremy Borash was dressed like somebody who would like corner you at a house party, so he could like talk way too aggressively and passionately at you about crypto.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Jeremy Borash? I don't want your Bitcoin. He did a good job though. He just the outfit, some of the outfits in this era of TNA they're They're big swings. That's the thing. That's the thing. Jeremy Boris was taking a big swing.
So Kurt gets busted open just a few minutes into the match. A bloody Kurt Angle like added so much to this match. Was it necessary? Like probably not. But that's just the type of wrestler that he was at this stage of his career.
Absolutely. They got This Is Awesome chance on the lockup. And I was thinking like timeline wise, when it was the first time I saw that, probably like Ring of Honor and probably like 2007 or 2008. So like if I had seen this when it aired, that would have been the first time I'd ever seen that happen. When the crowd chants "This is awesome" before they do anything.
Yeah.
Just on the lockup, just on the excitement of, holy shit, these two motherfuckers are actually going to do it.
Yeah.
Locked up, and it was immediately, "This is awesome." And I was like, this is 2006. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know like the "This is awesome" chant was big back then.
Certain fans don't understand that like back then the "This is awesome" chant was like special. And this was extra special because it was happening before anything even happened.
It's what Fight Forever is now.
Mm-hmm.
Like Fight Forever became, because everybody's like, does "This is awesome" for everything these days.
Yeah.
So it just morphed. It always just, it changes. But the Fight Forever, and then that'll eventually, be passe, and they'll come up with people will come up with something else. I like the "These Two Guys" chant too. That's a good one. That might supplant the Fight Forever.
Yeah. So the match has
Kurt Angle's, last time I cut you off, I promise.
No, go ahead.
I preferred Kurt Angle's gear in TNA to his everything he wore in WWE.
Yeah.
It was like, I know it was like black centric, so it was probably just like, oh, I'm going to be edgy now or whatever, but it fucking looked great. It was still the red, white, and blue, but with like a black like base to it. And that's kind of what he looked like. I liked it when he also, a little bit later, when he got the scruff and let his hair grow in like a little gray and stuff. Like, he just looked like a killer.
And how about his entrance and his music? It was awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, he looked like a killer.
It's like
it wasn't your Olympic hero. It was like Chris Benoit at his scariest.
Like I said, in his last year in WWE, it's like he was headed that way, like the whole wrestling machine, and he was just a little bit more aggressive. But in TNA, it's like, that's where his final form came.
He would do the thing in WWE right before he left where he would, like in a multi-man, he would come in and do like 40 German suplexes like right in a row. Like, the cardio was insane. That's what I always think of when they talk about like the wrestling machine kind of thing.
Yeah.
This was more like, I'm trying to kill you. Because you're trying to kill me.
Right. So the match has like amazing back and forth action until the very last second. Even the ending is like a series of submission reversals that could have finished the match for either guy.
He's dope as hell. I've been asking this question for 30 years or whatever. Kurt, why don't you do the leg grapevine right away? Why it's finished every single match that you've ever applied it. Why don't you put on an ankle lock and then drop down like half a second later, get that grapevine.
UFC fight. You got it.
I ever tell you I saw Kurt Angle's, I think, first ever dark match with WWE? I saw it at a Raw. Because Kurt Angle's his real name, and I had read about him because he was an Olympian and stuff. I didn't know what he looked like. And he just came out in like black trunks and beat some jobber, did like 3 moves. I was like, oh, that guy's boring. This guy's going to suck. This is a flop. Whatever. They just didn't have a character yet.
I saw Kofi's first ever dark match in WWE. Me and my friend Michael, we tell people all the time about that.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah, I talk about the Angle thing nonstop because it was like, hey, I was with like 4 other people who were fans. Like Nick was with me. It's us probably too. Shout out, guys. And I was like, that's Kurt Angle. And they were like, what the fuck are you talking about, dork? Stop talking. I don't know. Same thing with like Kenny Omega throughout the entire 20 teens. I'm like, guys, you don't even know. This guy is unbelievable.
So Samoa Joe ends up like tapping a Kurt's ankle lock. I like that he did tap and didn't just like pass out like so many guys do when they're trying to protect like a top guy.
Ballsy booking. I love it. Do it. Like whatever you're gonna do, just do it. It's not like Samoa Joe is gonna he's gonna lose his heat because he tapped. Like it's the smart thing to do because you don't want to break your ankle or rip a tendon and you can't wrestle anymore.
Right. The proper way to protect Samoa Joe is exactly the way they did it here, where after the match, he challenges Kurt to a rematch, and Kurt declines. Why? Because it's too damn risky.
Yeah, because he just went through a match that made, like, he's bleeding all over the place. He's getting eye gouges, and Joe is digging into the hole in his head and stuff. And that's what I was talking about earlier. All that stuff, like the death match stuff, worked incredibly well in this match because of that story they told. That, like, Kurt after the match was like, "No, I'm not fucking wrestling you ever again."
Right.
And it made sense because of it wouldn't have made sense if we hadn't seen what we saw. But also, what happened in this match would have been, if Kurt Angle wrestled his entire career matches like this, he probably wouldn't have had 40 neck surgeries, probably wouldn't have had to take 150 Percocets, every day, because as nasty as these kind of deathmatchy things look, they don't hurt anybody. They did a couple spots. Joe did the pendulum swing into the guardrail, which is like risky, but it's not moonsaults. It's not doing 10 German suplexes in a row to 300-pound people. Like, the deathmatch stuff it's like, not to use a cliche from action movies or whatever, but it's flesh wound stuff. Like, that shit heals right away, and then you're fine.
Yeah.
They're not doing unprotected chair shots to the head, blood looks nasty as hell, but it's like way less risky than doing a moonsault or whatever.
Yeah.
And it got me so much more invested than the last 3 years of Kurt Angle's WWE career, like anything he did in the last 3 years of WWE. That whole SmackDown thing, I was just like, oh, it's a bunch of wrestlers that are just wrestlers. Like, they're not. And it was before I recognized, good from bad, and that those guys were being held back from doing what they could potentially do.
Yeah.
But like this match, it was like, holy shit, I've never seen this dude wrestle this with psychologically like this. They had me hooked and the crowd hooked, and I was like with him every step of the way. I was with him. I bit on the near tap for the Coquina clutch. I loved that submission reverse. That was incredible. And Joe's incredible at making you buy it. Like, he's tapping. He's going to tap Angle here. And then, like you said, Joe cut that promo. Did Samoa Joe just come out of the womb, like, able to cut perfect promos?
Yeah.
Because this was 30 years ago or whatever, and he's as good as he is today, of course. And like every time I've ever seen him talk, I look like, even back when he was like 20, looking like a baby, he's got that commanding voice, and he never stumbles on his words. He always he's incredible.
Super confident. Yeah.
People sleep on him as the best promo of all time, and he's got to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know that he's it, but it's a matter of taste. But technically, that dude is, I think, probably the best.
Yeah. So I think that the match will go down as a representation of my favorite era in TNA. I would like to say that this would go down as my favorite TNA feud, but I think that they ended up doing it too many times, and then they added too many unnecessary layers to it and kind of tarnished it in a way.
They just didn't have enough star power. Nobody else could be believable against Kurt Angle or Samoa Joe except Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe. Like, they had a lot of talented X Division guys and stuff, and this is me in retrospect because I wasn't watching at the time, but I have gone back a lot. And they had a ton of talented, but it was nobody that I would believe could beat Samoa Joe. Maybe Abyss. That was it.
Right. Yeah.
But that's only one other guy. So I understand why they kept going back to it.
But this match and this feud was top tier, and I recommend anyone to go watch it or revisit it. You can easily find it on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I just Googled Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. I don't even think I put the name of the show. I just put 2006. Yeah, and it was it was on YouTube.
I think the whole pay-per-view is on there too.
Oh, I forgot to mention one of my favorite little Angle moments, because when he was losing his shit at the very end of the match, right before he tapped Joe, he already had taken his straps down. So he put his straps back up on his singlet, and this just so he could take them down again.
Yeah.
And that was like those little details. I love that shit.
Yeah.
So he like puts them up just so he can take them down again.
Yep.
And that was badass. He did try to do like the 3 German suplex thing to Joe. In the third one, I don't know if it was a work or a fuck up, if he actually botched, but he like lost control of Joe like halfway through the German, and it very much reminded me, like exactly reminded me of the classic Kurt Angle, Shane O'Mac glass window that wouldn't break thing. Joe fell just right on his head.
Yeah.
That was probably the scariest spot in the match, but all the other stuff was like, they just worked it so beautifully that it was scary as hell.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, everything looked great. That's all I got. Do you have anything else on the match?
Yeah, Meltzer gave this 4 1/4. What the fuck was he watching? Dude,
Yeah.
I know he, like, at this time he was like, all right, don't give him anything American over 3 stars. So 4 1/4 is like that's absolutely incredible. He wouldn't give like Shawn Michaels anything over like 3 3/4 or whatever. He just hated WWE so much that I think he, just because this was American, if he just like could take himself out of it and pretend that this was happening in the Tokyo Dome, he would have been like, this is match of the year candidates. Like,
Yeah.
it absolutely was a match of the year candidate. But yeah, 4 1/4. I'm like, what the fuck? How do you not get fully invested in it? I was standing at my desk watching this match that happened in 2006, 20 years ago almost.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, and the most prolific and biggest name in wrestling journalism was like, meh, this is good. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Dave?
Like I said, this is the highest match on any card on any promotion.
Yeah.
And they
Hell
delivered.
yeah. If you put this match at the end of an AEW pay-per-view as exactly as it happened today, I would be like, that's one of the matches of the year right now in 2024 or 2025 coming up.
Yep.
Like, it would still be. And that saying a lot, because wrestling has evolved a ton in the last 20 years. But this, man, like, just the psychology in this match, you get reminded sometimes that, like, bad actors always say, oh, anybody can do moves, or it's not about the moves. And it kind of is about the moves too. Like, it is about the moves. But like, when you watch a match like this, it really hammers home that, like, the psychology and understanding the crowd and when people are going to get to that, like, emotional climax and hitting it, like, right at the right time multiple times in a match, that's what makes a wrestling genius, I think, more than like the physical stuff. The physical stuff, if you can add that to it, then you're on another level, bruv. But yeah, it's the ability to understand what people are feeling while they're watching you. And this match, like, man, still made me feel. And it's a rewatch from like one of the worst eras in pro wrestling. Not in TNA, but just in general in North America. That I didn't really pay attention to when it was happening. Meanwhile, an hour ago, I was watching this and like standing up at my desk, like, oh shit, Jesus Christ, Kurt. So thanks for bringing it. Thanks for bringing it to me and to us. I'm gonna do another good one. I'm not gonna give you a shitty one yet. I think we'll do these for a few months before I drop a shitty one. And it'll be, I promise, it'll be it'll be shitty with something interesting, not just like, like, I will not give you like The Fiend versus Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be something that's kind of, something interesting. But there's just too much good wrestling that's happened over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to maybe go way back for something pretty interesting this time.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you bringing this to me, because I'd never watched it before. And man, now it's going on the list, like the top 200 of my life. It's there. So, yeah, and I'll have something for you guys and for Frankie next week. So, please, stay tuned. Also, I should announce this while it's on my mind. Frankie and I have discussed it. We're going to do a special, it's an end of year special show. We're thinking probably recording like the 28th, maybe. So this week, coming up this week, we're going to, compile and give you guys our, matches of the year across all promotions, just anything we've seen, whether it be live, whether it be indie, WWE, WrestleMania, like Collision, whatever. It'll be our favorite matches ranked 10-1 with some honorable mentions and stuff thrown in, but that should be a really fun conversation.
Spoiler alert, all of my matches have Will Ospreay.
Oh, okay, Meltzer.
No,
yeah.
they
6 foot,
they
6
usually could.
I'm realizing I thought I was, I always did the Osprey, bruv. Look, I like doing the accent, bruv, because it's pretty easy if you could do a little gravel. You know what I'm saying, bruv? And I was, over the moon when they signed him, and I still think he's probably the most talented wrestler in the world, but like, I could make a top 10 list that's just all Darby matches. I think he might be the best wrestler in the world. I know people don't want to think that like a dude that bumps like Spike Dudley or whatever. Maybe, I don't give a shit. He's like as technical as Jack Sabre Jr. He is as precise as MJF. He can do anything. He's the best seller in the men's division. He puts his body on the line a ton, but then if you pay close enough attention to the guy, he'll do the same spot. So he's actually being super precise. He knows what looks awful. A bump he took on the show we're about to talk about. Somebody posted like, he's done this like 3 times in the indies and stuff. And he's just able to control his body to the point where he can, do it, I think, safely for him. I think that's why he just never gets hurt. I think it's just his wrestling genius. And like we were talking about with the Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe thing, I think he's better at bringing a crowd to where he wants them to be than anybody going. Ospreay's right there too.
One reason why I think Ospreay is better than Darby is because he's able to wrestle different. He's able to tell different stories in different matches. He can work from underneath. He can be on par with his opponent, or as we saw this week, he can dominate.
Yeah. Darby is, I think, though, because of his size, there is an inherent story built in that he's never going to be able to go in there and be like, I'm dominating you to anybody, unless we start doing intergender matches in AEW or something. So he is hamstrung a little bit by that. But I do think he finds ways to tell different kinds of stories as the underdog that wins almost all the time. But like as the smaller dude. But I think he's like I think he's way more creative than people give him credit for. I don't think he's just like a stunt guy at all. I think his technical mat stuff is more impressive than his crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
His timing is insane. Like I still probably think Will Ospreay is the best wrestler in the world. I just like this show, by the way, AEW's Holiday Bash is what we're talking about. It was emanating from Washington, D.C. in an arena, which was nice and small and intimate. And as soon as I saw it on TV, I was like, thank you, God. Let's only do these arenas for the rest of like 2025 going forward. Because holy shit, the difference in vibe and sound and how invested people seemed. People are always invested at these shows, but you can't tell watching on TV because they're spread across these, like the United Center. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But like this had like 4,000 people packed into like an old NXT black and gold, so everything was super loud and they stuck with everybody for everything. It elevates everything when it has that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great.
The entrance ramp kept like throwing me off because it was like right there next to the stage. But no, I agree.
Fucking keep it. Do every show like that. Make do a little. You made your billions. You got your TV thing. You're not, if you're going to keep your ticket prices at $50 for the nosebleeds, like the sticker price, you're not going to be getting 10,000 people for TV, like tapings or whatever, or live TV shows. Put them in these places because it makes my and your experience watching it on TV so much better. Because like my only I thought 2024 was an awesome year for AEW. Way better than 2020. I thought 2023 was a trash fire. And I thought 2024 was like, they didn't fix everything. There's still stuff that they're working on. But they made huge strides in over the course of this year. But there were so many times that I would watch Dynamite. I'd be like, man, that would have been really great if it wasn't in an 18,000 seat arena and it sounded like a goddamn mausoleum. Like, I'm watching a match and I'm like, why aren't, and then my feelings are mad at the crowd, but the crowd's not doing anything wrong. They're just in a place that's too cavernous to make a difference.
I think the goal should be to do more of these awesome shows and eventually go back to those sellout arenas. I think they could do it in a couple
You
years.
don't have to. Like, I think so too, but I don't even know that needs to be the goal. Sellout arenas, the bigger arenas, the 10,000 seaters, fucking Starrcade 96, right after NWO became a thing, had like 8,500 people there. So people get weird about like remembering what's a big crowd for a wrestling show. 4,000 people at a wrestling show is a fucking big crowd. Like, if you're aiming for that for your weekly TV, you can do that forever. You can, especially when the real money's being made from the TV deals anyway. We just learned that, obviously, or the media deals now. It's not even TV. It's, Max and Netflix. The crowd is there to enhance the television products for us watching at home, because that's where they make their money. So we're the big customer, is the home viewer. The way to make that better, to make the show best for me watching it at home, is to put it in a venue that makes the crowd seem on fire, because it makes the whole show feel like it's on fire. And you're like I'm the most important thing to Tony Khan, the guy that's watching week over week. That's how he just signed that giant deal, with Warner Brothers. Was me, my fat ass sitting on the couch watching every week. The people that like can follow them around and go to every show, Brock Lesnar guy, you douchebag. Like, that's not where they're making their money anyway. It doesn't matter. And their pay-per-views, they're always going to sell out, because the AEW pay-per-views are just like transcendent. It's religious experiences. But like, sure, fine. If you want your goal to be, we're going to start, running the United Center again. Like, unless a CM Punk level person, which there is not, that CM Punk is the only CM Punk level person, comes over, I don't think that can happen with a show as niche and adult oriented as Dynamite. I mean, as AEW, there's so much like violence, and it's intended to be more real and more dangerous looking. There's a lot of people that just won't bring their kids to something like that. And if you take the kids out of the equation, that's like more than half the audience, like the WWE's audience. So I don't think I wouldn't be aiming for the 10, 15,000 seat arenas just for your TV. You're making enough money from Warner Brothers. Just make the viewing experience as good for us as you can, which is what they did here. And kudos to DC too, because they brought it. They were there were some times when they could have, like, I would have been too tired or whatever, and they found the energy to keep it going. It was a great crowd all night. What did you think of Dynamite this week, by the way, like in general? What were your vibes on it?
So I really, really enjoyed this episode. Probably my favorite in a good while. Amazing wrestling. Nothing but bangers.
Yeah.
Including a match of the year candidate. Like, there's a reason why we started talking about Darby and Osprey before we even started talking about the episode. Like we said already, the smaller venue was awesome. The DC crowd was awesome. And then the C2. I mean, like so many recent episodes,
holy shit,
the C2 matches like balance things out so nicely for me. It helps with the flow of the show so much. And I love that they incorporate storylines into the C2 tournament. So right now, I feel like we're getting the best of both worlds, like in so many cases.
Something you mentioned to me privately, not on the air, and then we talked about it a little bit more too, is this year's C2. It gives me hope for Tony Khan, because, last year the wrestling in the tournament was absolutely incredible. It's up to your own personal taste as to which year, last year, this year, the in-ring is better. I mean, I think the single best match happened on the show, but like just overall, but the booking and you brought it to my attention, the booking for the C2 this year has been a stroke of genius. He's clearly putting way more thought into everything that he's doing with this tournament. It's booked like some of the better G1s, where I don't know what's coming. I like match to match. I'm not outside of the couple of pin eaters that they always have to, and it's benefiting them too. But outside of the couple of pin eaters that always have to exist in these round robins, I never like 100% certain who's going to win any of these matches.
And then when I do think the next week I have a whole nother theory. Yeah,
subverted or going to. I have no fucking idea who's going to be in the final, who's going to win. Do you? I thought I did at the start. I was like, oh, it's definitely going to be. Now I'm like, oh, man, this could go in like 10 directions.
I know who I want to win. Do you?
You know what? I don't know who I want to win. I thought I did, but then the booking has been so good that it's made me like, oh man, but they could do this, they could do that. Who are you pulling for?
Fletcher.
Yeah, like,
I think he has like the momentum that you just can't. You can't.
I mean, I think I told you or mentioned it on a few shows ago. He's in the middle of doing literally my favorite thing that happens in pro wrestling, is being able to watch somebody find it. Like, not everybody has it, but like if you do have it, Swerve did it in 23. Fletcher's doing it, and he's doing it right now. I remember when The Rock did it. When Batista did it. Like when you find your thing and grab onto it and then like vice grip it and run like hell. It's the most fun thing to watch in pro wrestling. And that's what Kyle Fletcher's doing right now. But that's also why, like, I don't know if they need to give him the tournament win. So he just beat Will Ospreay in a like dominant fashion, and he's over as fuck. Crowds boo him like crazy. He's not a cool heel. He's like, he's found that sweet spot of heeldom where people are like, no, fuck, I hate you. I hate you. Like, that kind of shit you would get in the 60s or whatever. He's absolutely incredible. I don't think he needs it though, the tournament win.
I'm pulling for him, but I did like that Briscoe went over last week.
If Briscoe won the tournament, I would probably pop harder than anybody else. I fucking love the guy so much. I think he's so underrated. I mean, I was pulling for Brody, I think, when the thing started. I don't think he's got the points to make it happen now, but but you forget that like Darby's going to win the title probably in like Revolution, like, and he's in this thing. Like, we can't discount him. He just beat Will Ospreay, for Christ's sake. Like, Will Ospreay's in it. Like Okada. Like, he's working a very amusing super heel style right now. Especially in that Mordo. Did you see the Mordos match where he's like poking him in the eye and like, being such a shit? But he's winning too. He's like winning all his matches. He had to draw or whatever, but I mean, Daniel Garcia looks incredible. Like, everybody looks amazing.
I think that 2 C2 matches per Dynamite is perfect.
Who's beating Sheldon? Like, who's beating Sheldon?
Great job, like spreading them out throughout the week. Like, 2 is great. I think that when they have more than 2 is when it kind of feels like the C2 tournament is taking over the show, and I
100%
don't want that either.
Also, when you spread it out like they did this year, you get people like me who haven't watched Rampage in 6 months and hadn't watched Collision in 2 I'm tuning into those shows to watch those matches because they're awesome. So like incentivize, even though Rampage is like at their penultimate episode or whatever, but like, put them on Collision, put them on whatever Shockwave whenever that happens, or if it does or whatever.
So another great night for the C2 tournament. I'm still not sold on the Death Riders.
No, I think they fucking suck at this point. Like,
but I thought that the main event, which included them, was great.
The match was great, and I liked the way that it ended because it gave me an idea that maybe they're like, we're gonna pivot here because this ain't working. Because the thing happened at the end of the main event, the finish of the main event, that has nothing like that has even been teased by this iteration of Jon Moxley. So I'm thinking like, oh, maybe they are seeing that this is not, because it's really the only thing on like the whole show, like week over week, the last several weeks that isn't clicking.
Well, that
like
and
regularly.
Adam Cole,
But even that, like this week,
better.
we got something from like it was funny, and I have a theory that I think is going to make that pretty fun. The Cole thing, there was no way for Adam Cole's character to be able to make any sense as a babyface. He was the devil, like he was stuck. And then we also didn't have MJF live because he was doing a movie, and that hurt it too. MJF in front of people is a different animal.
Yeah.
And he can do sleight of hand, like, don't think about this story over here. Listen to my jokes over here.
Yeah.
And it changes things. And now I am actually a little bit intrigued for that match at the pay-per-view because not for the match itself necessarily, although they do have great chemistry together. But for like the bullshit I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be pretty exciting. Speaking of bullshit, to open the show, we got Switchblade, the catalyst for wrestling, with Orange Cassidy and Renee backstage. I love Jay White's like super weird ass way of talking, and it's not even that he's a Kiwi. He just talks strange as fuck on purpose. He knows that he does. He said that Renee asked Orange Cassidy a question, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about that. Orange gave us a big pip talk, and now he's all talked out, so I'll handle it." And he said, "Make no mistake, my focus is the world title, but like, here's my example of it's not just a Kiwi thing." He's like, "My focus is the world title, but I know that I have to make it to the world's end." Like, why the fuck did you say it like that besides to amuse me? Didn't make any sense. That's not something you would put emphasis on in the middle of a sentence. But he says, "Yeah, I got to rely on people like Orange Cassidy because I don't have any bang, bang, gang by my side." He does say that he cannot rely on Hangman because all Hangman is good for is letting people down, including himself. And then Hangman comes like storming in from the back. Switchblade I love the dynamic. Like, he keeps beating him, and then he also like knows exactly what buttons to push to fuck with him.
Yeah.
Like, that Hangman's like, I'm so like tired of this guy.
Yep.
And Switchblade did it here too. So Hangman comes out, like, breaks in between the two of OC and Switchblade, and is like, Hangman's like, "Moxley's mine tonight. Don't nobody touch him. He's mine. I'm thinking, meanwhile, like, didn't they just try to fucking poison Orange Cassidy to death? He should be more pissed off than you.
True, yeah.
Cowboy. But anyway, like, it's okay. I'll let it slide. But like, then Hangman storms off because Jay White's kind of like giving him shit, and then Jay follows him, and he's like, "Aye, Captain. At least you wore a black jacket tonight, so we match." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so perfect. I want these guys together forever." But I said the same thing about Swerve and Hangman too. Then we got a real quick Darby backstage promo, which I love. It's super simple. Just says, "Will Ospreay, it's showtime." Yep. So, and alluding to something that's going to come a little later in the show. Really love that, like, Darby's mentorship with Sting has developed him too. Like, there's very clear elements of Sting that Darby has now adopted into his whole deal. Like, he was a father figure, so it was, love it. Then we got a real quick Billy Go Prof, cutting a pretty standard like Ospreay promo, which is very solid. I do have to say, watching this promo, Will's got to do something about the hair. It's getting out of hand. He needs to either cut it back down to where it's just kind of floppy, or grow it long, like classic pro wrestler long hair. So right now he has like Karen soccer mom kind of thing happening.
Yeah, no.
Or like,
go back to like the New Japan shorter hair.
Yeah. Like now he's got 91, like the dick shaped head thing going on. And like, no matter how many times you like counter out of like a deep arm drag and land on your feet, you can't look that cool unless you wet that shit down, or like, you gotta do something about the hair.
Yeah, and then someone last week said that he looked like Lord Farquaad.
Yeah, he does. He should take a note from his former protege, Koyo Fletcher.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think necessarily with the buzz cut, but yeah, grow it out, do something, or wet it down at least, because it's got the poodle thing happening, and that is not good. Mick Foley used to always talk about that.
I wanted Fletcher to shave him during Full Gear.
That was such a great booking idea of yours. I love it. I have a couple for this show that I'm pretty proud of, but that would have been so perfect. And he beat him too, so I'm like, hey, go get the scissors. Go do it. Cut that fucking poodle hair off him. He's going to be a world champ one day. We need him looking cool.
Yeah.
He's still cool. Like, Ricochet is the opposite, where like he could be the most stylish person on earth and he's still a fucking giant dork. And I'm so happy that they recognized it. I don't know whether it was him that recognized that or Tony Khan, but they recognized it. And it's making him a whole lot more interesting and fun.
Yeah.
We get a little breakdown from Excalibur, the C2, what's happened so far. If you guys hadn't been watching, I'm not going to break it down because it's too complicated, because round robin tournaments are a lot of matches. We get a shot of MJF kind of walking very cockily through the backstage area wearing his Hanukkah suit. Full disclosure, before I put my Homer on, I was trying to find, I think it might be in the laundry, unfortunately. I have the MJF, my Hanukkah is better than your Christmas sweatshirt. I was going to wear that in honor of MJF today, but I couldn't locate it in my house, so I went Homer. So he's like gonna come out and do a promo a little bit later. So the next thing up on the show was the CEO, and a new, very improved Anna Jay, as far as I'm concerned, for the TBS title. They showed a little clip of Mercedes Hazuki. Have you watched that? Yeah.
Not yet.
Man. I have to watch Final Battle, because that looked like, from the clips I saw, it looked pretty goddamn amazing. But you mentioned you watched that, so you didn't watch but that Mercedes Hazuki match is one of my all-time favorites. It's maybe a hair under the Brooklyn Takeover or Sasha Bailey as far as American women's wrestling matches for me personally, but it's right there. Like, I could be convinced, Yeah,
I can't wait to watch that.
Sexist dork, Dave Meltzer gave it 4.75. Like, I don't know what else you want from these ladies. What do you think of this match?
Great match. Strong showing from both women. Man, I think Mercedes is one of the most consistent wrestlers on the whole roster.
And I don't think she was all years. I think this last few months, she's Darby, she's Willow, she like that, but she hadn't been. I think she was but it happens with every WWE person. It happened with Christian. Moxley jumped right in, but he knew, he was doing a CZW shit anyway. Happened with Ricochet. There's always a weird dissonance period, and it was kind of getting sad and very much a bummer, because it made me start to be was Sasha not as good as I thought she was? Because for most of 2024, it just wasn't. She was good, but she wasn't clicking. Her character stuff wasn't clicking. In-ring stuff was good, but it wasn't what I remembered her being able to do. But she's on a run right now that I'm I love that the year is ending with this, because it makes me feel good, selfishly, to watch her fucking killing it right now.
I kind of credited her heel run, because she works so much better as a heel. She gets ragdolled.
Yeah.
She makes the other person look so much better than her.
She does a thing that I took it in my notes, and I had this thought. There's only been 3 or 4 wrestlers in my lifetime that can do this particular character, and that's why it was important, I think, that Camille not being a part of it anymore. I hope they have something for her, but her not being the heater anymore was important for Sasha or for Mercedes to get to where she is, because the thing that she's doing is super, super hard. It's the heel that is fighting from underneath, getting their ass kicked in every single match, but they always are clever enough to find a way to get the win in the end. And I'm Ric Flair did that his whole career.
Yeah.
There's not so many others. Shawn Michaels, when he was a real heel, would, for parts of his career, do that. But that's about it as far as it's real hard to fight from underneath and maintain the heat that you get. And she's maintaining the heat because her facials and stuff are so insanely great. But like
She's
that's
fighting
it's
from
rarefied
underneath.
air.
She's fighting from underneath, and also when she gets like the momentum going and the match is going her way, she'll go for a pin and gets a 2, and she starts freaking out.
Yeah, or she'll try to go for the pin again. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna you're not. But she's always the wheels are always turning because she was always clever enough to come up with some cool thing at the end to make it happen. I could have used like 5 more minutes. It was a pretty decent length for an AEW women's match. And at the end, I was like, man, I could use 5 more minutes of this.
Yeah.
It was Anna Jay is like, so when she started off in AEW, she was like so green. But like for how green she was absolutely incredible, like baseline level, not Harley Cameron baseline level, but close. But like this little excursion she went on to Japan, it was only a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck happened? She's like Miami Toyota now. Like what the hell? She's everything she was like laying in this match looked like Queen Aminata, and like all the transitions were like fast and smooth and stuff. She looked like she went to Japan, wrestled like a 10-year career there over the course of 2 weeks, came back, and now is a different person. She looks like a top of the card wrestler.
Yeah.
She's holding her own with the best. And they keep putting her in there with the best, which is great. She's not like, I don't think she's Willow. I don't think she's going to be like, Willow's like she needs to have the belt at some point in 2025. But she's like right there. She's a little bit under that. And for somebody that when they came into AEW had like 10 matches under her belt or whatever.
Yep.
Incredible.
And I
she
like
was
that
awesome in
they,
this match.
they do remind us of these things that, she only had a handful of matches before her debut in AEW, and that she did go to Japan recently. So like we know this, but even like casual viewers would know her journey.
Yeah, exactly. That's something AEW misses out on a lot of the time is like filling people in. Tony Khan sometimes, and he's done a better job in 2024 than he did in the year prior, but like sometimes he just thinks that everybody is you and me. That like we're reading shit every day and like we understand like all the looking into all the bullshit, so we know everything that most, when I say most, 99.9% of wrestling fans, you gotta let them know on the show that they watch because they're only going to dedicate a couple hours a week or whatever to you. So like do that, and that's great when they do that during a match, especially when it's a kick-ass match, because it means people aren't turning it off. They're watching straight through.
I think that Anna Jay has such a good story that even if she doesn't become a Willow, she doesn't become a Mercedes, like have her win the title because it's going to be a great freaking moment.
Yeah, I think she will be a future world champ. I don't know if she's ever going to be Willow or Mercedes in the ring. She might. Like, I did not think she would develop to what she is now, to be honest. And she has. So she's proven me wrong. So maybe she'll get there. She's still pretty young too. But like, she's a champ. She's got everything. She's an AEW original. From day one. They always trot her out whenever they do the Daily's Play shows because people are like, they feel tied to her because she is like an original. And essentially trained her from nothing, like almost nothing as far as experience goes. Yeah, she needs to be a future world champ, just for the moment, like you said.
Mm-hmm. And then Mercedes, I think that I still want to see a good feud out of her. I feel like there's too much being thrown at her right now, and none of it is compelling.
That's why I liked that they showed Chris Statlander, because I'm like, that's her best opponent. That's her best American opponent, at least. Zaki is her best opponent, but Statlander gave her her best match in AEW by 100 million miles. And I would like to see that be a 6-month program, because you could do all kinds of different fun stuff with that dynamic between the two of them. So when they showed Stat, like watching the match backstage, I was like, wonderful. Let's get something going with those two that is long term. And then also that means that they won't be able to fuck over Statlander by switching her back and forth babyface and heel every 3 weeks, trying to kill her heat all the time. Yeah, I agree. She needs a story now, like a big feud. But I think that's what they're doing. I hope. Fingers crossed.
They have an opportunity to do a much better build between these two, and I feel like they have this opportunity because they had such a good match.
Yeah, you can build off of the look what we did. Like now you know what to expect.
Yeah.
Get hyped. Even though, not to toot my own horn, but the day that they signed Sasha Banks, I was like, get her in the fucking ring with Chris Statlander. That's going to be her best opponent.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm such a Stat fan. I think she gives everybody their best match, but Mercedes particularly because of the way that she wrestles. In this match too, in this same match, everybody's bigger than her, so like she does the Spike Dudley stuff. But the way that she crumples her body and like, was she doing that sunset flip bomb to the middle turnbuckle as Sasha? I don't remember her ever doing that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I also like that she's developed the Meteora into like 10 different variations of it now. It's like her whole thing. And it's all cool, interesting ways that she does it. The crowd, by the way, was hot as fuck for this match as well.
Yeah, they were.
Which is not always the case for women's matches. Even in AEW. I will say, I wanted to say Mercedes is the only person of the many that do it who doesn't irritate me at all when she does the Eddie Guerrero. I know that he was like her mentor and stuff, so I'm like, all right, it's okay, you can do it. And she can't really do a frog splash, so
no, she cannot.
She just does it for the Three Amigos, and then she does like some kind of splash, and then they call it a frog splash. But D'Lo is turning over in his grave. I know he's alive, but D'Lo is my favorite frog splash of all time. Ribbit. Look like an actual frog. So yeah, Mercedes got the win here. But a very competitive match. I mean, nobody thought that AJ was going to win the TBS title here, but
right.
But got me on the hook a couple of times. It was, and like I said, I wanted a few more minutes of it. That's to the level it was raised. Or like maybe I'm supposed to put another women's match on the show. He still needs to fucking get over his like, I don't know if he incel thing or like, I don't know. If he just doesn't respect women. He's got so many fucking talent, super talented women on the roster.
Yeah.
You don't have to just put one match on your big show. Like this was one of my favorite things that happened on the show, as is almost always the case with the women's matches. Like at least they gave this some time. I don't want to shit on it when it's a positive thing. Next up, we got FTR cutting a very boring promo from Dax's man cave about the stupid Death Riders poisoning Orange Cassidy or something. I don't like it. I don't like any of it. But I do like that their partner's probably Edge.
You think so?
Like with the reports, and he's one of their boys. They're saying that Edge has been cleared for weeks now, and they need a third. It's Copeland, I'm pretty sure. And I'll be happy to have him back because I was really enjoying grizzled old ass Edge. It's three guys now from the same era that I didn't really like very much in their prime that I love now. Randy Orton, Edge Reno, and Shelton Benjamin. This Shelton Benjamin is like 100,000 times better than the Shelton. He was always a great athlete and could put on like work great spectacles. This thing he's doing now is fucking so much more entertaining than anything he's ever done in his career. So yeah, that's three. It's three grizzled old guys from that same like 2010, early 2010s, late 2000s. That I really like as grizzled people. I was really hoping FTR was going to turn heel soon, which is not going to work if they're going in a program with the oops. Sorry, I clicked off there for a second. It's not going to happen if they're going to work a program with the Death Riders, right? Like, how can you can't turn heel on them? Unless it's all some kind of a ruse to take out Private Party, but I don't know what happened. So, I mean, it'll be probably a great match, FTR, and if it is Copeland against, pick your three, the Death Riders, but I just don't give a shit about that crew. Like, I want that belt away from Moxley. Like, like, this is one of those that I'm going to be like watching with no feeling in my heart, going, this is a very good match. This is technically an incredible match. And just, I don't care.
The build-up sucks. I mean, why? First of all, like, why are they doing this in their living room, right? Like, why are they like so serious about it? Like, this, what happened? What we saw on Collision was like a 2-second thing. Like,
yeah,
no one actually cares about this.
It's a dumb thing. Stop trying to kill people on a wrestling show. They're doing it every week now. And like, why were we in their den? I don't know. Like, I know it was because Doc Samson said we can't wrestle till your turn of the year. How a doctor would know that that's when they're going to be in wrestle? I don't know. But like, and then like, don't sleep well because we're going to come kill you in your sleep. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. I didn't get anything about it. I understood when they did the den promo with Moxley and Eddie Kingston back after when the exploding ring thing fucked up. And then they did that, I thought, like, was one of an all-timer level promo. It was them drinking whiskey at Moxley's house and joking about what had happened. And it really changed the vibes. Like, that was great. I did not need to see. I felt like Dax and Cash's, like, nieces and nephews were going to come running in the room or whatever and ask him to play video games or something with him. Like, what is going on here? Yeah. It was strange. Like, I don't know. Their match will be good. And I won't care. Like, but you need all of it. You can't just be the being able to cut people off in the ring real good. Yeah. Speaking of all of it, next up we got MJF cutting his in-ring promo for the first time in what feels like forever. Right. And thank the Lord, baby Jesus. MJF says that everybody should be celebrating the greatest holiday in the world, Hanukkah, because Santa Claus is not real. I hate to break it to you. And then the AEW production crew immediately cut to a shoot like 9-year-old, 8-year-old in the crowd. And I'm like, oh no, that's going to be a tough car ride. That sucks. I'm going to have your piece of shit.
I love the Santa's chants.
The Santa chant was amazing. Also, when MJF shit on the Wizards, and they were like, yeah, they fucking suck. And then they chanted the Wizards suck.
I was about to say, like, what is up with that? Like, no matter how bad the Bulls play, I am not chanting Bulls suck.
No. I might chant that, like, Krause sucked back in the day or whatever, or like Tim Floyd sucks, but not the Bull. I'm not going to cheer my team sucks. I want them to be good. And also,
like, come on, let's boo MJF. Let's say fuck you for shitting on our team, you know?
Yeah, and he's working his ass off to try to get it, and he's like, yeah, they do suck. You're idiots. Jesus Christ, give me a bone here. Like, what I gotta do? Insult your mother like I did with Pillman? What was it? Metheny, my favorite MJFism of all time. Your mom, Metheny. We got to hear Maxwell's beautiful voice when he sang, "It's the most wonderful time of the year."
And then Daddy Magic's like, you got to hand it to him.
Of course. Yeah, got a great voice. Got to hand it to him. I still don't understand why Daddy Magic is from, like, French Canada, but about 80% of his accent sounds like he's from, like Bridgeview or something. Sounds like a mechanic that lives in, like, Villa Park or something. Yeah. Max then does a full-on fake like charity commercial. He asked the boys in the truck to play some music, some like heartfelt piano music, like doo, doo, doo. And he did the looked down the pipe of the camera and says that picture the super small child that desperately like needs our help, and you can help him, and then picture that child was this baby. And he then showed a completely unaltered full body photo of Adam Cole on the big screen. I guessed it was very altered. It was yellower than Homer, and like every bit of muscle removed from this. He like Slender Man. It's like Slender Man Simpson's character. It was rough, and I posted it all over Blue Sky. Fuck Twitter, by the way, guys. You could check me out. Check us out at Blue Sky, more Blue Thunder Pod there. But yeah, I posted that on Blue Sky immediately because I was like, that is funny. And I don't care. It's lowbrow. It's dumb. It's very funny. It was very funny. Yeah. And I liked that MJF kept saying, "We can save this baby." We even like subtle later on, to save this baby, folks. Please buy the World's End pay-per-view. You'll be contributing money towards helping me put him out of his misery. And like MJF is the only thing going in this story that like he can work with anything.
Yeah.
The only thing that hurt him was fucking making Billy Madison too, because he couldn't be on TV.
Right.
I feel like he could have saved this thing. Cole like still doesn't make any sense.
You know, even though the storyline doesn't make sense, I think we're so far from like when it first started that we can't even like it's pointless to say how much this doesn't make sense.
This was the first segment since Cole got hurt that I enjoyed the whole thing.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So like even Cole, like the things that he said, the way that he was like, "Am I kicking your ass yet?" Like even that's good.
He's also not yellow. Did you notice that?
Backstage, he's never yellow.
He's
weird.
never yellow, but like he's so not yellow now that I think he fixed whatever the fuck that was, because he was like pale as I am usually in January. But yeah, that's what he did. They did a thing backstage where Cole pops up on the Tron and brings in Bennett and Taven, says, "These guys got my back." You know, a real babyface move, Cole. You guys got your gang. But what I think is going to happen, when I saw that Taven and Bennett come out and they're going to be in his corner, I think Wardlow is going to come rejoin the fold and slide the diamond ring to Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Because it would tie two things. It would Wardlow, ever since he left MJF, hasn't really worked out for him. Like he had that little run title, but like never really got over. It would make sense for him to go back to the guy that was even abusive to him, because he was that's where he had his greatest success. And also, if you remember that little thread that they just abandoned, when Wardlow was with Cole, when Cole first like returned from injury, Cole kept doing that thing where he was stalking behind Wardlow and like, I can kick you. So Wardlow could do the devil I know is better than the devil I don't. I saw that shit. I saw you stalking me. You were going to kick me in the head when I came in the ring to Cole. So it would make sense for him to turn on him, and it would give Wardlow something to do, and it would get MJF a heater again. And it would be a great callback if he did the same thing he did with the Punk match and slid the ring the way that he did, which I think is what's going to happen. And that would be just about the best thing, I think, that could come out of this train wreck, what's been mostly a train wreck for the second half of this MJF Cole thing. I'm still excited for the match because they have awesome chemistry. They've had like, what, three matches, and they're all amazing. But now that I have this Wardlow thing in my head, my fantasy booking is going to be like, if it doesn't happen, I'll be disappointed. But I think it's going to happen. I think that's the only reason that you bring out. Why else does the babyface bring out his goons to say like, we're going to make sure you get fucked up. You're supposed to be a good guy, baby. So Cole, turned out it was a ruse. It was a pre-tape, and Cole was standing behind MJF the whole time, and he attacked him. I love that MJF when he hit the bricks, like got out of the ring, he made sure he grabbed his scarf and put her back around his neck as he was splitting the ring. But yeah, no, this is the first segment since Cole got hurt that I have enjoyed with these guys.
Yeah. Oop. My cat is on the desk.
Cat not a wrestling man? My dogs are. They fucking work way too stiff, though. Rosie works like Vader. Hey, what's up, kitty cat? What's your cat's name again? You told me, whatever.
Leo.
Leo, why does your cat not have a wrestling name?
I know. I don't think Sarah was going to go for that.
I do sports. I do. It's been sports names for all my dogs, but I'm wrestling. There will be wrestling names. I have Rosie. Rosie is Derek Rose. I had Jordan. I had Pippin. I had Ozzy. You in those you can pass off to a girlfriend or wife. It's like, oh, it's just a name, just a dog name.
You know what? I did edit a picture of her as Mercedes, and I got to show you because it's
you do.
So good. Seriously, so good.
Am I going to be like having untoward thoughts about your cat? Did you get her to do the booty shake that Mercedes does when she's getting in the ring?
But I gave her like a pink weave. Like she looks great.
Nice. Mercedes did not. She had no weave in the Hazuki match.
Okay.
Couldn't because it went 30 minutes and it was fucking brutal. It was amazing. Fucking Dave. He's just never going to give women, like, unless they're Joshi wrestlers from the 80s and 90s. He doesn't, like, no, nobody's as good as them. This was better than that shit. More psychology. Sorry, I'm flipping through notes. Oh, we got the Jamie Hayter cutting a backstage promo. It was fine. She, though, to me, has not yet, I say yet because I think she will, recaptured, like, her mojo from before she got hurt when everything she did was, like, aura. Holy shit. She's just doing solid work right now. And she's got to build back to it, I think, but...
Yeah, to me, it's a little questionable to put her in a program with, what's her name?
Julia. It's my favorite thing about it.
Julia.
Because they got it. They got to make a tough decision. I love when they put themselves in a tough spot. As long as they don't fucking pussy out and do some schmozzy thing, which they usually don't do on pay-per-views, you're forcing yourself to make a call here. And then you have to be more creative on the end of that. You have to be a better writer and a better booker when you have to make a tough decision and have somebody lose. Well, what are you going to do with them then? Like, you got to be smarter. You got to be more creative, do different things. And I love that it's recently returned and a newly returning, both stars. One of them is going to lose their first pay-per-view match.
That's what I don't like. It'd be one thing for it to be a tough decision when they're both just fully back, but Julia just returning. I feel like Hayter's still in the early stages of her return, so I don't know. It's a little tough for me to accept that one of them is going to have to lose.
Yeah, that's what fighting
really
is, dude. That's why I love it so much, because it's painful. It's hard. It's fucking drama. Like, man, what is going to happen? I like both these competitors. That is what makes it cinema. It's what makes it drama. Like, they put himself in a position where he has to make a tough decision. And I think that's when AEW's at its best, when they put two people in the ring when you're like, how is either one of these going to, when Fletcher and Ospreay, and I was like, they're not going to have one of these guys lose. And then it was even more brilliant because of that feeling that you had going in. And I also trust both of these ladies to, they're going to have something to do, whichever one loses. And it could be something interesting. Look at Timeless Tony Storm. That was coming off of losses and stuff. Great things can come off of losses. You just have to be smart and be a good booker and a good writer. So do that. Make a ballsy decision and then use your noodle and come up with something good for the person that, got the short end of the stick in the match.
Yeah. But you know what? I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be a hard decision for me, because I don't like Julia. It's a hard.
I think she's super green, but I think she's going to be very, very good.
I just don't like the gimmick.
Spooky stuff never has been great with me. My favorite thing about it is her relationship with Brody King, that uncle niece thing they have going. I wish they would do more with that, because I like the human stuff more than spooky stuff. I fucking hate the Undertaker. I like Wyatt Six. Specifically because they are we're not doing spooky stuff. We're just dressed up because we have emotional damage. And Julia leans a little too hard into the spooky stuff, but I think her deliveries and stuff on that are good. She's doing a thing I don't like very much, very well, for me. But I think the more interesting story is if Hayter loses, because I think a way to get her aura back is to develop, do the Kyle Fletcher, do the Tony Storm, come off the loss, be devastated by it, and have that be the driving force for you to have a character, because she doesn't really have one right now.
Right.
She's great at promos, incredible in the ring, getting better, getting all the ring rust off, getting better every week. But I want her to have something, and she doesn't. Julie does, even if you don't like it. It's something. Jamie, I think, could benefit from the loss and like not repackage, but like hopefully they have something on deck to do with her. Like the idea is already there.
Yeah.
And I just like going in not knowing who's going to win too. Like that's cool, and I like Julie more than you do. I do think she's limited in the ring, but she's 20, so like, there's not everybody can be Nick Wayne. You know, like it's only one of those guys. Speaking of one, next up we got I Hear the Battle Cry. Kenny Omega vignette, and I seem to have jizzed in my pants.
This is amazing.
It was amazing. We get to Justin Roberts, like, talking him up to ridiculous degrees. Like, and then, like, 6 hours later, all the dirt sheets are like, all the word backstage is they're talking about a World's End return. So I just keep thinking, oh, Moxley standing tall at the end. Kenny Omega sliding in the ring and standing behind him like this. Like the first ever pay-per-view they ever did, but switched. Get his payback on Moxley finally. V-trigger the shit out of him. Like,
Yeah.
because that's how they ended, you know, the first Double or Nothing. And you could do a whole thing with that. Now, I think that's what they're going to do. If he is showing up at World's End, I think that's what he's going to do. I think it's to close the show.
If that's not the case, what else would you like for him to do first?
I want him, nothing. I want him to go for the world title. I want him to be constantly going for the world title. I want him to be at the top of the card. I don't want him to lose for like 2 years. I want him, I know that he likes getting real creative, and I appreciate that. It's part of what has made me love pro wrestling even more over the years and appreciate the way that the Japanese tell stories and stuff. Because it's more, there's more nuance and depth and humanity to the stories. And I've been great with that with Kenny for his whole time in AEW so far. But it's time to be the man. You're the man. You're the most important, best guy in this company. You're the guy that before AEW was founded, every Royal Rumble, people were like, "Is Kenny Omega going to show up? Is Kenny Omega going to show up?" Because he was the best wrestler. Might still be the best wrestler. He's talking like he's saying he's in better physical shape than he's ever been in his entire AEW run so far. If that's the case, give him this like roll up Hogan, Cena, and Roman treatment all in one. I want him pushed to the moon. Maybe like there's a stumbling block before he can get to Moxley for some reason, but win through that. I want him to dominate. I want him to just like scare the what I'd like if they don't do like a mirror image return to the original Double or Nothing thing. I would not mind if like the after match the Death Riders were beating the shit out of Hangman. And because Kenny never wanted to fight Hangman in on any of not after the breakup, not when they were for a world title, and he was proud of him after he won stuff. He still loves him. So like have him save Hangman, which could be the start to the redemption angle for Hangman too. Because those guys are just connected. I want him to have a dominant run. I want him to be like, even if it's like a CM Punk run where he just doesn't lose. Like, I just don't want him to lose ever.
Yeah. I also don't want him to wrestle too much when he comes back.
Me either, because he's got fucking diverticulitis and he's been wrestling. He invented the most damaging style of wrestling on earth.
Right.
And his fucking last match, I watched it on Collision, was an Ethan Page match where he took like 10 bumps on his head out of the ring.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? It's Ethan Page. Stop it. You don't need to make him look that great.
Yeah.
No, make him special and make make him dominant, make him your number one star, make him the guy that's on the poster, front and center, like with all the other people like around his head. But he's the guy. Like,
Exactly.
That's what I want from Kenny Omega, and he's young. He's young enough yet that I think he's got a few years at that level still.
Mm-hmm.
We get the Patriarchy versus Hook and Shibata. I thought this was just kind of okay. I will say Hook looked way better than he has recently physically. His like strikes. I'm like, did you go on Excursion too? Because his strikes look good for the first time ever, and his timing on his other shit like looked good. I just wasn't feeling it that much. How about you?
No, I thought it was a very good match. I thought Shibata looked really good in this. The crowd was like popping for him throughout the whole match.
The crowd was fucking awesome.
He had really good momentum throughout the whole match, and he was totally carrying the match.
Yeah.
But I did think that Hook looked good too.
This is one of those, I think if I went back and watched it, I'd be like, beat for beat, like, this is good. I want Hook and Christian. I don't really want them together. I think that's flavoring my opinion of the match.
Like you want the whole program to be over?
I want that program to be finished, yeah. Like Christian's holding the Money in the Bank thing, and I want that to be... I know that it's probably better if it's not the focus, if he's keeping it on the back burner so he can surprise people or whatever. Like, I would love if Darby won at Revolution and then Christian cashing out on the same night. That'd be unbelievable. But, like, I don't know. Hook, Christian, for me, feels like he's above this. I think it would be working for me if Samoa Joe was still there. Mm-hmm. When does he finish his fucking movie stuff?
That's
He's
what I was
got
gonna
2 video
say.
games and a movie or something.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm not sure how close he is from coming back, but I would love to see them in this mix here.
If it was Christian, the Patriarchy against Hook and his pseudo dad, like it'd be amazing. But for now, it's just like Hook's doing as best as he can. But I'm just not. It's just difficult for me to get invested, despite there was good work in this match. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, this made me think like maybe Hook should be like a tag team guy because, like I said, like Shibata carried him and he also looked good.
Yeah. Yes. I will like my 2 things about young green wrestlers that haven't had much time. Don't ever let them be baby faces. You should always, always, always start as a heel because you learn so much doing that. It's way easier to then be a babyface than it is to like try to be a good guy without really understanding the bad guy stuff. It always is better for the growth of the performer to be a heel and do tag matches. Mm-hmm. Like you can hide, like weaknesses or stuff you haven't really necessarily learned yet. And then learn as you go, like that whole time. So, like, Hook could be a great tag wrestler, I think. Hook and Nick Wayne did also have pretty good chemistry. Hook doesn't have great chemistry he did with Samoa Joe when he wrestled him. He does cool stuff, but he like real ring chemistry was just Samoa Joe and then Nick Wayne. I was like, man, these guys like they feel like they've been going at it for years or whatever. Mm-hmm. That was kind of surprising.
Yep.
Oh, how the fuck did Vince McMahon ever think Christian was ugly? Christian Cage fucking smolders. That man is so attractive. Mm-hmm. What is he? Vince is such a weird asshole. Like, put a blue dot over the best looking guy on the show's face.
Yeah.
Fucking piece of shit.
And then he's another guy who went to TNA and was like instantly a star too.
Yeah.
I mean, Kurt Angle was a star, but
that's another WWE guy though. Christian was not great when he came to AEW first. Like when he first like Mercedes for the first like 4 or 5 months. Took him a while to figure out like what his lane here is and how it works here and what like gets over here. And then when he did, he's been like fucking the best heel on the roster for years now. But it took him a while to get there. So that's why I cut the WWE people slack when they come over for like several months. Usually, it's hard to get out of those habits that you've been taught for years. Mm-hmm. The crowd was. I did say even though this match was kind of meh for me, just because I'm not super interested in the program, the crowd was super hot for it like the whole time. Yeah. Christian won with like super heelness as usual. And my last note was just that I want this big giant, like, come, like, build yourself back up, Darby thing finally overcome all the odds, win the title at Revolution, where Sting retired and bloody, and then Chris just comes out, and beats him, and that's it. And the show with that. That would be great. Mariah May cut a super evil promo on Thunder Rosa. It was decent. Mariah, when she's going, she's usually great talking for me. The one error she makes occasionally, and I think she did here, she gets a little like the evil witch from a Disney movie. It's like, it's too over the top, like sinister. I'm just evil. I'm not even a human being. And that's kind of what she was doing in this promo for me. I was like, she performed it well, but I was like, all right. And it's not really that big of a gripe because it's still good. It's still well performed. But like 80% of her promos, I think, are incredible. And then occasionally she'll slip a little bit into the like, I'm gonna poison your apple, like a little bit.
I like some of the things that she says a lot. Like when she said, basically she has a problem with what's her name?
Thunder Rosa.
Thunder Rosa saying that the women's division is alive and well. Like she takes offense to that because no, it's not. It's not alive and well.
That
like,
was great. That was that was a great line. I love that. I agree with you.
Is dead. I'm the champion.
Yeah. It was like the dad stuff and stuff. I was just like, you should be stroking a black cat right now. Like, I love her. I think her title run has been fantastic. I think that she is an incredible character. She's incredible in the ring. She's amazing. Like, I think what is going to eventually happen is going to be fucking super awesome with her and the story that is continuing. It was just a little over the top for me. I still thought it was good. It was well performed. It wasn't bad. It was just like, I would have gone maybe like a half step down with the evil stuff a little bit. Next up, speaking of things that I liked, we got Tony Schiavone introducing Ricochet for an interview. Holy shit. I love when a wrestler discovers what they should have been after like doing wrestling for a million years and never really clicking, and then all of a sudden somebody says to him, or they like have an epiphany, and it's, oh shit, I am this other thing that I'm not that thing I thought I was for like 20 years.
Oh, like Solo?
Yes.
You Solo?
It only took Solo a few months. Ricochet's been trying to be cool for 20 years. And finally, somebody was like, hey, dude, you're a fucking dork. And people are annoyed by you. Lean into that shit. Like, yes, probably. Or the Bucks. Because that's their best thing is leaning into the thing that people hate.
Yeah.
But, like, he's taking this like a fish to water. Like this, like fucking dorky, grating, irritating personality thing that he's doing. I'm like, man, I've never been more interested in Ricochet than I am right now.
Yeah, it's like he's welcoming the go away heat.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, I think that's what's going to happen. Because so what happened here is the Hurt Syndicate comes down, and Ricochet is being like just obnoxious about, hey, did you see that win I just got? And oh, Shelton's guy, you're going to have a win tonight, and then maybe we could both be winners together. Blah, blah, blah. And Lashley just goozles him, just grabs him by the throat, and he's like, ah. And MVP's like, you got that card I gave you? He's like, oh yeah, sure. And he tears it up, and nobody likes to kiss ass. And then they just let him go then. And what I think is eventually going to happen is this is a sort of, and he is going to join the Hurt Syndicate and be their X-Pac, because the only thing that's going to keep them from being too cool heels, because they get chants and cheers nonstop, you need to give Wheeler Yuta or X-Pac or one of those. And that's what Ricochet can be. Yeah. Irritating little fucking piece of shit that everybody hates.
Mm-hmm. Tony and them aren't going to make Ricochet look like a dumbass for nothing. Like, he's going to make his way into the Syndicate.
Yeah. He still wins, too.
Either by beating Ospreay or Darby. Like, I hope he doesn't beat both of them, but maybe by beating both one of those guys or attacking Swerve or something.
Bring you some heat, too. But yeah, I think it's going to be them all together against Swerve. But yeah, that's what this group needs. I so love that they are subverting once they brought Lashley in, they're subverting the other guy in the stable as the pin eater. They're like, no, fuck that. Shelton is like as intimidating and good, or if not more than Lashley. Like, he didn't lose 1 ounce of aura when Lashley came in. It was like, for 1 second, I was like, oh, I guess they're going to make Shelton the pin eater. No, they just kept letting him do Brock Lesnar shit. And it's amazing. Like, and it's so much better.
I loved the prior week when he lost his C2 match and MVP was giving him shit for it. But Shelton didn't take an offense to any of that. If anything,
he took it like a football player takes tough coaching. That's it was awesome.
Right.
And speaking of Shelton, the next match was our C2 match, Shelton Benjamin versus the Beast Mortos. And this is where I had my thought that, like, I'm so glad they just let Shelton continue being Shelton. Because, like, in any other world in WWE, Shelton would lose here. He wouldn't have lost this match. Because it'd be like, oh, well, the main guy in your stable's here now, so you can just become a lackey. And they're just not doing that. They're like, no, we just have 3 bad motherfuckers. That's it. Like, it's what it is. And it's so much better. Mordos has been like super incredible in all of his C2 matches. And I know that he brought him in because they needed a pin eater, but I think that is still like a sign of confidence in somebody for the future, because like it's a really hard job that he's doing right now. And Tony Khan knows that, to put somebody out there and make it believable that they can win any of these matches, despite the fact that they're losing them all. And plus he's getting two TV appearances a week. I love that. When they brought Mordos in, I was like, man, I hope they don't fucking ruin Black Taurus. Like, he was great on his Collision matches, like Rampage matches, but like now we're getting to see him every week on the main show. I think it's going to go somewhere for him. And that's awesome because he rules.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I'm worried about right now? Speaking of luchadors that could go in the wrong direction. I'm real worried that I don't think, one, he's not going to be Penta. They're going to call him Cerro Miedo. And I'm real worried he's going to get like a 6-week feud with Santos Escobar, and then like 50-50 thing with Andrade, and then they're going to do a thing where he's Rey Mysterio's new best friend.
Yep.
And because they mushed all the Mexican people together in that promotion. And like, Penta is so great that I hope he can like come in and do the thing where he's breaking arms like he was on Lucha Underground, and just get over so fast that Triple H does not have time for his racist bullshit. Like, and stick him in the LWO feuding with the other Mexicans or whatever. I really hope he's able to be Penta. At least they gave him a vignette, but like, I'm like, oh, I see. Poor Dragon Lee's got to be like, oh, I was Ray's best friend, but now the new luchador's coming in, so they're gonna have to make him Ray's best friend after a feud, like we do with everybody that comes from any lucha promotion.
Right. I hope that when Phoenix is introduced, there's so much hype around those two that it's undeniable, and I
fucking love Penta so much on his own. Even like, Penta has been amazing over multiple promotions for so many years. He's my favorite guy in Lucha Underground by a million miles. My favorite performer. And like, if you let him just do his thing, he's gonna get over. It's a little violent for WWE, but fucking whatever. You just let CM Punk crack Drew McIntyre's skull open. Let Penta do his arm breaker stuff. Like, and his dangerous.
I really don't know what happened between those two and Tony, but I thought that they viewed these guys as like a pillar, almost a pillar of AEW. They were so important to like the history of AEW.
I think it's one of two things. One, sometimes people just want to be able to wrestle WrestleMania and work for the company that has 18,000 people in the stands every, like, some people just grow up and that's what their thing is. That's where they want to end up. I think the more likely thing, though, is that Tony Khan never trusted those guys enough to push them the way that they should have been pushed, because they, particularly Ray, got hurt just so frequently. And then when it seemed like it wasn't an injury, there was a visa issue or something that like halted. Because like that night that they beat the Bucks in the cage match, man, like the crowd was so behind him. They were so over. Like they should have been the biggest tag team for like years in that company, but there was always something, and it was usually not like a booking decision. It was usually an injury or some other thing. And I think that Tony Khan probably saw them as worth a certain amount of money because of the injuries or whatever. And they saw themselves as worth a different amount of money because of their talent and unbelievable skill. So like I could see how that would happen. It's like, it was like that way for Pac a lot for a long time too. Like you couldn't give him a long-term story because he would just get hurt.
And then I think there was an issue with the CMLL, or they had an issue with doing the same card as CMLL guys.
Well, there was years that AAA and CMLL thing where you couldn't be on the same card because they hated each other, and like Conan's a dick. Like, I don't think that would be enough to jettison like one of your 2 or 3 most talented tag teams, though. Yeah. Those and constantly over no matter what. Like those guys rule. I just hope they stay healthy. If they stay healthy and Triple H doesn't get too racist, they are going to have an awesome career in WWE. Yeah. But the mirror that I was talking about is like Mordos. I was worried that they were like going to see him when he first came in, see him as just kind of a gimmicky thing, but they like people have noticed. And his matches all rule. Like, yeah.
I hope that he stays healthy.
Does he have an injury history? Like, I don't remember him getting hurt in AEW, at least.
Yeah.
He's a
Bandito
beast.
got hurt last night in ROH. I'm not sure if you.
Oh, he did? Super looking forward to Bandito coming back.
I know.
I didn't watch the edge.
Everyone, people popped for him when he came out and helped
awesome.
Matt Cardona out. He went for like a missile drop kick, but like, you know how he just kind of like, he's so brutal with that drop kick, and he like lands, on his back, but like it looked like his head hit the back of the mat, or
like a power bomb bump kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and he was just so like out of it while he's supposed to be like making the save.
Yeah, he's concussed.
Like he could barely stand up. It
like
looked
Moxley against Phoenix when we were watching, and I'm texting my friends, I'm like, John Moxley has a concussion right now. I can tell. That sucks. So hopefully it's just a little while, if it's maybe concussion protocol or whatever. Because Bandito fucking rules.
He does.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, after the match, Shelton won, but Mordos came out looking like a fucking killer still, which was that's a credit to Shelton too, because he. An MVP on commentary is better than even Callis is. He's better than Heenan, I think. He's unbelievable. He was awesome here. But like Benjamin was dominant at points and was dominant at the end of the match, but he let Mordos get his like devastating offense in too. So he really looked like a danger. Mordos came out of this not looking any worse, to me at least. And they were about to beat the shit out of Mordos later, like post-match, because they're heels. And was it Lashley kind of match? Wait, what? There was another reason, too. There was like a logistical reason why they were going to do it, but they were about to do it. And Daniel Garcia comes out and stands on the ramp and cut a pretty decent promo. He continues to get better at promos, even if he still sounds like SNL Mark Wahlberg. Say hello to your mother for me. He'll never be able to get rid of the dumb guy voice, I don't think, but he's becoming a pretty good promo.
Yeah.
But he says, numbers game, there's 3 of you, only 2 of us. I'm not going to come fight you to be stupid. But then the Suffolk County chicken came out, and because he's everybody's best friend and he rules. So Mark Briscoe came out and they had a tussle. The Hurt Syndicate came out on top which makes booking sense, and they're super hot right now, so that was good.
And this is what I mean when I say that they're incorporating storylines into these C2 matches. It's not just like dream matches for the sake of the tournament. No, like there's storylines in this.
There's storylines in like 80% of these matches. They're like weaving through. I really hope when Darby finally does like reclimb the mountaintop, because he's going to need friends. He's going to need people around him. I really hope that Brody King is one of them, because they're shoot friends, and I want them to have a little tag run together. I just love their vibe together. I think Brody and Darby are better together than even Brody is with Malachi and Buddy, and I love them together. But like Brody and Darby have a thing I really want to see, and he'd be the perfect guy to recruit to help take down a bunch of scary monsters. Next up we got Ricochet doing more like heel dorky dipshit stuff with Renee backstage. And then when he finishes up, he turns around and Swerve is just standing right behind him. Says, "What's up, turd?" I love that. Swerve commences to just bully the shit out of Ricochet for being a giant uncool nerd. Calls him Trevor. Says that I thought you'd change after all these 15 years. But no, you're still a follower. What he wanted to say was you're still a fucking dork. Which I think this further solidified my belief that Ricochet is going to absolutely join the Hurt Syndicate eventually. Ricochet tries talking some shit and then does his ha again in Swerve's face, and he hits the bricks, and Swerve just turns to Nana and it's like, yeah, that's why he's still bald though. Made me laugh. Next up we got RJ City interviewing NXT UK Tony Storm. I love this so much. So Tony Storm is behaving as if she has no memory of any of the things that have happened in her AEW career. She's coming in as a plucky young rookie with the same stupid gimmick that she had in NXT and that she kind of carried over into early AEW. RJ City is perplexed by this because he's interviewed her a bunch of times as Timeless Tony Storm, and he's like, "What happened to Timeless?" And she's like, "No, it's Tony time. Get it? Tony time." And she's really sticking to the bit, but on occasion, the British Timeless Tony Storm accent pushes through, which we know is not. We know it's a work because her actual accent is the Australian accent. She's doing that for most of the time, but the British one came through in 3 or 4 words, so we know that there's something going on. My personal theory is that she is not crazy at all. She is not got amnesia. She doesn't believe that she's this whatever. She doesn't believe that she's plucky young rookie Tony Storm, but she's going to convince Mariah that she believes that she is this. She's going to become Mariah's protege. And we're going to get a run through. It'll have to be faster because the show in Australia is in 3 months. So we won't be able to get the amazing 6 months of it or whatever. But Tony Storm, I think, is going to become the Mariah to what Mariah was for Tony Storm. And then when Mariah least expects it, hit her with the shoe, fade to black and white. And we get our setup for the, pay-per-view title match.
That would be awesome.
I think that's what they're doing. I think that's what they're doing. And I think RJ City's writing all of it. He's always so involved in it, and the dude is just, credit to the women involved too. Their performances are insane. But I think that the creative stuff, a lot of it is coming from that dude. Yeah. That's why I keep wanting him to just book the shows. This is, because this, I loved it. What would you think of this segment?
I thought it was good. I didn't catch the accent thing.
It's very subtle.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. And then I love your theory. I would be so into that.
I love my theories because that would be an amazing callback. It would be an amazing it's the thing that makes most sense with this what she's doing. I'm like, why would she? She's not. I don't have amnesia. I don't think that's it. They wouldn't do something that silly. Why would she be doing this? And then during the interview, RJ was asking her about different performers, different women in the division. And then when he got to Mariah, she was like, "Oh, the cream of the crop, the top. I idolize her."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're gonna weasel your way into her camp, make her think that you're super fan number one, and then you're gonna fucking put a spike heel in her eyeball."
Yeah.
And, she's doing next level shit as far as character goes for women's wrestling in any company. I don't care what it is. There's nobody near her level of character stuff.
Right.
I mean, women unfortunately are not allowed to develop character to that degree, but Toni Storm's like at levels of it now. It's
And not even men are doing this type of
very
character.
few. Yeah, very few.
I mean, who else is doing it?
There's some bloodline stuff that like like the Sammy stuff has
But
layers.
I'm talking about like the completely reinventing your character.
Oh, like she's somebody another podcast said she is succeeding at what Chris Jericho tries to do all the time.
Yeah.
Like she just reinvents herself and it's perfect. And she's amazing. She can act so well that I think that she could be in TV shows and movies and stuff, and it wouldn't be just like a novelty that wrestlers in this or whatever. I think she's that good an actor or performer.
Yeah. And man, is she over. Like when she returned,
Oh yeah,
that was like an awesome moment.
it was great too because we got to see her reaction like she was a rookie getting that pop, and she was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
this is amazing!" Like she looked like she was gonna cry. I'm like, "Oh, she's fucking next level." Yeah, I love it. I love it all. She's killing it. I just hope they don't tie up the world title so long that like Willow doesn't get any of it for a year still again.
Yeah.
There are so many other talented women too. Like you can get even if you want this feud to continue beyond that, you can get the title away from them and they can still. It's a very good reason to have a blood feud. What they've done, what one did to the other, and what I think the other's going to do back. So next up, I normally would reserve this for the actual technical one, but I don't give a shit because the next match was the main event of the evening. Darby Allin and Will Ospreay in a C2 match that the expectations for this match were unfair and pretty much impossible. And then these motherfuckers found a way to surpass those expectations. I mean, they both have chemistry with everybody on the roster. Everyone they wrestle, they have chemistry with. So, like, I shouldn't have been shocked when I was like, oh, these guys have the best goddamn chemistry I've ever seen. What did I hang? I actually had a pretty funny note. Oh, god damn it. Don't worry, this will go quick because it's just a series of spots I'm gonna list because what the fuck else can you say about it? I'm just trying to. Oh, did I not write it down? Oh yeah, okay. I said, of course, these two have more chemistry than Mulder and Scully. They fucking roll. So the match like basically opens up with Darby doing that like arm drag thing he does. That's better than an arm drag, but Ospreay somehow lands on his feet, and I'm like, how does a human body do that? I don't. Are they wrestling in a centrifuge or on the moon or something? Because how the fuck? And as soon as he did that, I was like, because there's always that like little bit of worry when it's two wrestlers that you really love and you're really excited for a match. And these are the two top, my two top guys. 101A, I don't even know which is which. So like, there's always that worry that like, at the beginning of the match, there you see that the chemistry is not quite there, and you're like, oh shit, this is not going to be what I was hoping. It'll be good, but it won't be what. That arm drag thing was off the bat. I was like, oh, this is fucking, here we go. Like, here we go. You can't do that without having.
You guys are locked in.
Together. Yeah. Like, even before the match, when they were like being announced, Osprey's like doing his Osprey thing in the corner, getting himself all fired up, and Darby's like sullenly, like introspectively, but very focused. It was just, they were in their characters, even going in. We got the holy shit chant before the match started. That is always like a good sign. Also, Will Ospreay's a wizard. So, Darby makes.
I like that we were anticipating the match like the whole night.
Yeah.
I don't. It would have been fine if it was like the first match, because they love opening with freaking bangers.
Bangers, yeah.
This is the type of match that people anticipate and will continue watching the show until the match airs.
I also think when you get to the peak of a match, especially this was kind of a sprint for these two. It was not a long match,
right?
Which another reason why it's five-star match, because it doesn't. Not every match has to be 19, 22 minutes to be 5 stars. Different stories can be told, which a different story was told here. But I think if you open with it, when you get to the peak of the match, the crowd is not quite at the same level as the peak of a match when it's later in the show and has been anticipated throughout the night. So when after the Styles Clash thing and Darby made his comeback, I think the level of the crowd got to, they probably wouldn't have gotten quite to there if it was the opener. It would be people going nuts, but like the emotional investment when you've been waiting for this thing all night, like, oh, I can't wait to see this goddamn thing.
Mm-hmm.
The level you're able to get to as a spectator, I think, is higher.
Yeah.
And it obviously the crowd was nuts for this.
Yep.
Just some of the spots. Or I also wanted to say Darby Allin makes 0 mistakes in the ring. He's like, MJF is the only other guy I think that Osprey's close, but like MJF's the only other guy I can think of in wrestling that makes just 0 mistakes. Is so precise. Yeah. Everything he does, every step, every drop down, every like bit of chain wrestling he does it's like Jack Sabre Jr. It's perfect. Mm-hmm. The chain of reversals that ended up in the stunner thing was fucking out of control. The insane Code Red reversal that turned into a hidden blade, but to the face. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. Then immediately after that, the insane Stormbreaker reversal that turned into a Code Red, which was like a 2.99999 incredible near fall. Darby had one of those later too. And he's not as well known for those as like Will and Roman and Kenny Omega. But Darby in this match was like, he was on that level, that like super incredible level. I love the Will Ospreay chopping the shit out of Darby, but he was holding this, like he grabbed Darby's wrist and he's chopping the shit out of Darby. But then he realized like, oh, Darby's not he's not letting go. So like he wouldn't give up wrist control because he's got amateur wrestling background and he's also a guy that would never quit. So it was cool to like see Ospreay like gradually get more and more worried. He's hitting him with these crazy chops and Darby's just not fucking letting go of that wrist. And then the Styles Clash to the floor. This was the Kurt Angle thing that I was alluding to at the very beginning of the podcast. We would see for years and years and years Kurt Angle in WWE do the thing where he would like feign like he's going to do a German suplex to the outside. Never did it because the WWE just wouldn't allow that kind of violence in their show. Will Ospreay is on the apron with Darby and he gets him into the Styles Clash like position, but he's facing like sideways on the apron. And Ospreay is very good at like playing to the back row, so he does a very exaggerated like looking to the floor, and everybody's like, "Holy shit, no way!" Mm-hmm. And he turns his body, and then he hits a Styles Clash from the apron to the floor, which is so dangerous in so many goddamn ways. It's not the most brutal thing looking thing. I think the most brutal looking thing was just Darby's bump on the apron. He went to do a coffin drop and he hit the corner of the apron, and it looked like he should have shattered all his vertebrae.
Yeah. He sold it really well too. I mean, not that he probably has to sell it.
Yeah, I mean he's an incredible seller. He sells.
Changed the match.
Darby Allin sells on a level of like Bryan Danielson. I think, and you know who else? Mercedes does too. I think they are like Danielson level sellers, not just bumpers, but sellers. Yeah. But eventually, so Darby's out of the ring. Ospreay's like beat to hell at this point. So he goes in the ring and just tells the ref, like, just count him out. I'm not going to be able to stop this kid. Darby does his classic, gets back in the ring at like in between 9 and 10. So barely just makes it back in. He reverses. There were "You killed Darby" chants, which I enjoyed. After the move, when Darby gets back in the ring, he ends up reversing the Stormbreaker into a Scorpion Death Drop. Mm-hmm. After he did the Showtime hint earlier in the show, my little wrestling heart was a Twitter.
Yeah,
loved it. Did
he go for a pin after that though, or no?
No, he Scorpion Death Drop, and then immediately, actually, he Scorpion Death Drop was too excited. He ran into the corner and smashed his own head off the middle turnbuckle, and then climbed up super fast and did a coffin drop onto Will Ospreay's back. He was like on all fours, hit him on the back, and then Ospreay fell, and then he immediately ran right back up to the top and did second coffin drop, gave him no time, and then 1, 2, 3, and the crowd freaking lost their shit. What'd you say?
That's a perfect ending.
Yeah. Yes. I couldn't have booked the story they told better. How they pulled it off. I'm not being hyperbolic here. I think the two best wrestling matches on non-pay-per-view television this year, and at least in America, were both Darby Allin matches. And it was the beginning and the end of the year. Takeshita Darby in January, and this match here are the two best matches I've seen on TV this year. Two of the best TV matches I've ever seen in my life. Because there's just never been anybody like Darby and Will Ospreay. And this also served to remind me that we still haven't gotten Darby and Omega yet. So that's something that could potentially happen. I do think this was probably, it narrowly beats out the Darby Takeshita from January for my match, a TV match of the year. We can talk about that later in about a week when we do our top 10s.
Yeah.
Just holy shit though. And then Claudio comes out after Darby's like won, but is absolutely decimated. I did notice that Claudio and I have almost identical upper bodies. That's just something I noticed when I was watching the show. Because it was time for the Death Riders to wrestle Lawrence Cassidy, Hangman, and Switchblade. And my note was this was actually a very, very good 6-man tag match with tons of story and great action, but it followed a match where we saw the face of God. So it was difficult. I was proud of the fans in attendance were able to get back up to like getting into it.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, I had to watch the main event, actual main event of the evening twice, just because I was like, it washed over me. I was so like insane from that last match that I watched. I'm like, was that good or bad? I don't fucking know.
I think you asked me yesterday, what do you think of the main event? And I was like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
and then I actually paid attention.
Watched
and I was
it again. I'm like, it's like a 4.5 star match. It's like really good. It's a really good match. It had story, like the Hangman left because he was getting frustrated because the other two were attacking Moxley, and then he like snuck back, and when he had his opportunity to attack Moxley, he did. It was, but like, all these guys doing all their shit in the best way possible and working off each other in smart ways and stuff. It's impossible to follow that. Like, you can't. There's nobody on earth. Maybe like Omega Okada, like you could do that. And that's what the Young Bucks were, like kind of a cheat code for that. They would do that when Omega or Ospreay or whatever, when they're around, they would have a match with like FTR or whoever. And it would be like stone quiet for the first half, and then by the mid of the match, they have gotten the crowd whipped into a frenzy because of the Young Bucks. There's not very many people that can do that. But the crowd did get behind this match, and it got the second time I watched it, because I hadn't just watched Darby and the Billy Goat. It was a very solid main event, and then. My favorite thing that happened was Moxley won with like a sneaky ass schoolboy, which that goes against everything he's fucking said since he came back, which makes me think maybe they're pivoting to he's not Mr. Indestructible, badass John McClane, fucking hardest guy in the world. Maybe he's just a heel and he's kind of a hypocrite.
You know what? I think I can't give him that much credit. Like, I think it's just nothing that they've done. Like, there is no pivot. There is no like creative process behind all of this. Like, it's just bad booking, bad creative.
It's boring as fuck.
Everything that they've done with the Death Rider storyline constantly contradicts their whole mission. Their whole gimmick. The
people they go after are the absolute wrong, like the last people on the roster that you would be going after if what you're saying is true. But, maybe we'll see. I'll let it play out. Maybe that's the point. Maybe they are full of shit this whole time. When was the last time you saw John Moxley win with Schoolboy?
Right.
He was Dean Ambrose last time he won with Schoolboy. So maybe. I'm just holding out hope.
See, that would make sense if Moxley also wasn't the type to challenge like 3 bitter enemies to a championship match at the pay-per-view.
I'm not saying that it makes sense. I'm saying I'm hoping because of this one thing that they're pivoting because it's been dog shit, and then especially when you're following like the match of the year, TV match of the year, and then and also we saw Tony Storm doing like the best character work that anybody's doing. Like this, that it's just it ain't it, as the kids say.
Amazing episode, but the very last, it wasn't it for me either. What's up with the whole protect Moxley at all costs and have Maria Shafir like escort him away from danger? Like what is that?
I'm hoping that is. Maybe you're not such a badass. Maybe you are just a chicken shit hypocrite heel, and you're going to get exposed sooner than we think. Because what I was worried about is that he's going to I'm not going to get to see the AEW World Title for till June or July in 2025 or whatever. I'm hoping they're pivoting off of that and they're going to do something different. And at least I can see the Schoolboy and the protect Mox thing, because why would Mox ever ask for protection, even when he was like babyface Mox, is an indicator that maybe that, okay, we're seeing that this isn't really working. And it would make sense too, because they did just start, they brought in another stable at the same time that has just organically, people are treating them in the Hurt Syndicate the way that they were trying to get people to treat what do you call it, the Death Riders. But people are like, no, they're it. You are boring, and this is stupid and it sucks. So hopefully it's a pivot. I really did like seeing the Schoolboy, because I'm like, he doesn't do that. He's never done that. And he's standing behind a woman too. So maybe, please. Yep. But they're not dominating these shows anymore either. They're just on their own segment, which I can deal with. And their segment was a very good match. I'm just bored with their story. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind the Switchblade and stealing. It's not going to happen. But I'll be satisfied if Moxley retains, because he's going to retain, and when we get some Kenny Omega callback stuff and attack in some way, that would be like a title victory for one of the baby faces for me if Omega returns. But I thought the show was absolutely delightful. You needed to put that Darby match in the main event, because I couldn't physically pay attention to this match the first time I watched it. So the people, God bless the people of DC, because they work their asses off to get back into it. I shit on crowds sometimes. I really want to give credit where credit's due when people make the effort to appreciate people that are busting their asses, and that's what they did. Mm-hmm. You got any other closing thoughts before we finish up for the evening?
Let's see. Well, I'm still loving the C2 stuff. I'm looking forward to watching Collision. I'm really looking forward to see Ricochet against Ospreay next.
Yeah,
because it's not just Ricochet and Ospreay. Now there's the Hurt Syndicate stuff, and
it's Ospreay against Ricochet now.
Yeah,
different character is gonna different thing. Revitalized.
I almost want Ricochet to win.
I kind of do too, because he's got a new thing, and he's doing good with it. You know why else bet wants Ricochet to win? Will Ospreay, because he loves fucking helping people, because he's the perfect wrestler.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that happening. I can't believe I'm this interested in fucking Ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
After like a week and a half ago, I was like, they should cut him from the roster and put him in Ring of Honor or something. And now I'm like, I love him.
Yeah. The fact that we still have all these C2 matches to go, they could possibly make it in this top 10 matches of the year list for us.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
Give me your prediction. Who's in the finals? Who's winning? Just off top of your head, just like without thinking about it too hard.
Fletcher, and I'll still go with Ospreay.
Ospreay Fletcher? So a rematch, so you got Fletcher winning 2 in a row against his mentor.
Yeah.
Damn. That's a lot of faith. Fletcher he's worth it though. All right, guys. So I don't know if did we talk about, do you want to do the WWE one, or do you want to just jump right to our top 10s?
I think I'm going to spend a good deal thinking about the top.
Me too.
2024
and Raw was
matches,
like only okay. So,
yeah.
So our next,
as we get closer to the Rumble, that's when.
Yeah. Once we get into WrestleMania season, there'll be plenty of WWE content for you guys. I promise. There was last year. There will be again now, especially if they keep making these shows as Kevin Owens centric as they have been.
Yeah.
Because he is my boy. So the next thing up, keep your eyes peeled, guys. I think we're going to record on probably the 28th. Frankie and I's top 10 each matches of 2024. And then depending on how that goes, maybe we'll do some other year-end lists. But I think that one will be the most fun because we enjoy a lot of the same stuff, but we watch wrestling in different ways, and we experience different matches than one another a lot too. So I think we could put together a more interesting match list than most of these podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff that just say all the same matches that Dave Meltzer says. Next week for that one, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sticking with us as always, because I definitely want to keep doing this, because boy, oh boy, do I love pro wrestling. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
He's simply ravishing.